just
make a note of it
announced
now.
that, we are having a approval
With that,
process.
sometimes when we send it
So
to
this
you,
portion is designed for
anyone
anyone
that would
you'll ask them if they're requesting to come.
But I'll ask you.
And I'll say no, you'll say anybody in the audience that doesn't have a chance to
All right, well, it is 6:30, and we will start the meeting tonight with the tax rate hearing. Do we have anyone who would like to comment on our tax rate? Bob, have we had anybody request?
No one's requested, made an official request.
All right. Does that conclude our tax rate hearing?
It does, we'll vote officially and decide on it.
So in the meeting, we'll approve the levy, item 8.4. With that, I call the regular meeting of the Board of Education, August Board of Education meeting to order. Welcome our guest. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item 8.4, approval of the 24-25 levy?
I move to approve the agenda with the addition.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Do we have anybody requesting to speak in open forum?
I did not.
All right. It's been a long time since anybody spoke at open forum. I take that as a good thing. Not that we don't want to hear from our community folks. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda and everything on it?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Item 5, approve the transfer and payment of bills. Any questions on the transfer and payment of bills? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion, questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Reports, special ed.
Good evening, everybody. I am just kind of gonna give you an overview of where we're at, start the year, just to give you a good idea of kind of our numbers, what we're looking at, our goals for the year, and then open it up to any questions if you guys have some. Kind of our mission and goals for the year is to really focus on the inclusion process across all grades. One thing that we've had a lot of discussions about, not only in the SPED department, but in gen ed as well, is truly what it means to have an inclusive environment, not just allowing our kiddos, in the four walls, but really enhancing the learning process to make sure that they can be a part of as many general education environments as possible. And I have to say, the general education teachers we have here at Osage County R2 are second to none when it comes to that. I go to a lot of meetings with other school directors that's a big area of focus. I'm like, how do you guys get gen ed teachers to really want to include your especially your high needs kiddos in the class? They're like, if they're breathing, like they're willing to do it, and it's just not. It's an unfortunate situation for other districts, but we're really, really fortunate here, and I try and let the gen ed teachers know as much as possible how fortunate we are to have that here. But really just to try and elevate it, never just be satisfied with where we're at, but really elevate it and try and really build upon that, especially with new teachers, especially since it sounds like even schools within our conference are struggling with that. So really trying to lead that change there is a big goal of ours, and we're rocking it thus far. We had some new staff members join us this year, so kind of working with the department to understand the new processes that involves, the new expectations, or maybe a enhancement of expectations was a big goal of mine throughout our first few days of PD. With the first few days of school, it seems like that transition has happened pretty seamlessly, but I'll continue to monitor it throughout the year. Our enrollment and demographics, you guys probably see that there aren't numbers there. I definitely wanted, this was due before I have the actual numbers, by the time we had kids come in and out. Where we're rolling right now is actually more than what we had at the beginning of last year. We're at 76 total. That does not include any students that we serve in the parochial school here in town. Pre-K, we're at 7 right now, but just to remind you kind of the way that that program works, we bring them in, we get to know them a little bit, and then these next few months we'll start the evaluation process. So that number naturally is low at the beginning of the year, and then by about October, it's likely to about double. But we have the kiddos here, and we're getting to know them, and then we'll start that testing and get those services started for them immediately. Elementary school, we have 37, middle school 15, high school 17, and then we serve 2 students at the parochial school with their needs. With that low number, I hate to give any more specifics than that, just for their own privacy. Some really great news. We all directors kind of got a firm email from DESE about how a lot of schools were overqualifying in certain areas, and they just put those demographics out there and said, hey, these percentages should be right about here. If you're over that, you really need to look into your evaluation process. And something I was really proud of to see was we were actually under that number, and we were one of the very few schools that were. So that tells me that our evaluation process is diligent, and we're doing a good job of following those standards and indicators. It's always nice whenever you get an email like that and you can go, whew, they're not talking to us. So I was happy to see that, and we'll continue to monitor that and ensure that we're staying within the expected ratios from the state. As far as compliance and regulations, last year we were on our desk monitoring year from DESE, so it was just my responsibility to ensure compliance. This year in the spring, they'll request certain documents from us that we'll turn in, and then DESE will then look through them and give us a report the following year. So we will ensure just an extra set of eyes this year, especially since we'll be turning in those documents to DESE, but I don't foresee any glaring mistakes. Hopefully, we'll stay vigilant on that. So this year is our, like I said, our submitting year. One thing to note, this is a first that I talked to a director that has been doing this like 22 years. For the first time, there have been no major compliant changes. So you guys may remember that every year I have to submit for you all to approve our local plan. We will not have to do that this year because they're able to accept us since there were no major changes. So we will continue to be better every single day, and we're really excited for this year. We have a really solid group of us in the special education department, and then we're heavily supported by a great group of general education teachers. Can I answer any questions for you guys?
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Superintendent report.
All right, of course, I'll begin with probably the most interesting beginning to a school year that I've ever had. You guys are intimately aware of all the details involving that. So just a couple of points that I want to make sure and make. Number one, our primary concern in all of our decisions and our responses was student and staff safety. And we let that guide us most of the way. We had a great response, all of that came our way just after our first day of school. So we had a great response from the staff that were still on campus, our coaches, and our parents and athletes. So that went really, really well. Of course, anything you do so infrequently leaves room for improvement, and so we're taking a look at the feedback from our sheriff's department, doing after actions report, and looking for an opportunity just to be better there. Did want to make sure and thank the Sheriff's Department and Sheriff Bonham. Did a great job and really communicated well with us. Our staff and parents also, we got a lot of compliments. Our parents did a great job at pickup after the lockdown. That can be a very anxious time. They did an excellent job. Could not be happier with that. And generally our response seemed like it was supported very well in the community. Culture, climate, and relationships, I'll kind of tie that together with professional development because it's really focused on the same thing. We spent some time August 15th with Phil Boyd, who is the author of School Culture by Design. And what Phil really does, I don't know if I came up with this before or after Phil, but I speak to the staff often and say, if you want to work at a great place, you gotta be a great person to work with. And what Phil does is connect the people in the workplace in a very professional but personal way. Just helps generally with the positivity of knowing and building relationships among staff. So that went really well. Staffing, our big go-to there, of course, our 2 ELA and our business position that we do have an answer for this year. We're gonna continue to monitor those applications. Facilities-wise, a couple of big notes. I won't go through all of that. You guys have them. Our county commissioner approved the 2012 IBC building codes for public entities. It's gonna save us about $425,000 in redundant construction costs. And also the other big takeaway there is all of our lease purchase projects are done and they are under budget. We're gonna take some of that money. We had talked about doing some irrigation and some things, and we're gonna move that elsewhere. Athletics and fine arts, of course, you know all of our sports teams are practicing and games are beginning to get underway. Cross country, softball, volleyball, and football. Football in particular is gonna have our very first varsity home game, August 30th. So we're gonna try and do our very best to make that a big event. And we've had a pretty good start with our band and choir programs. Seeing a lot of positivity in both of those. Budget and finance, I've spoken with a couple of you individually. We ended our fund balance with our ASBR at 40.2%. We know we hadn't paid for a few of those items on our lease purchase list, so that's a little inflated. We'll end up somewhere around the 34%, which, of course, my prediction was intended to be conservative. We thought 31, 32, so we're in a little bit better position there. Audit is coming this fall, so we'll go through that process and we believe we'll do well. Assessed valuation is another point of interest. This is a non-assessment year, but we expected some new construction coming online, 1.5 to 2 million, and we ended up at 1.7 million, so right in our window. But this is an ongoing process. Somehow we lost $2.1 million in personal property, which equates to about 12 or 13% of the taxable vehicles in our school boundaries, which is a pretty big reduction. That's about 1 out of every 7 or 8 vehicles, boats, side-by-sides that kind of left taxable status. So I'm working through, trying to really understand how that happens.
And you've heard that's happened around the state, though?
It's happened around the state, but not anywhere nearly as much as we've felt the impact. So values have dropped across the state because all of those values are based on the same October NADA value. So that dropped across the state. Where we're seeing kind of a unique situation here in Osage County among R1, R2, and R3 is, yes, those rates did fall for us also, but the number of taxable items also dropped 12 or 13%, which seems very unusual. So we'll keep asking questions there to figure out exactly what happened.
What could cause that?
Either we were really wrong in our counting and what we was being counted as taxable in previous years, and
But you don't do that.
I don't do that. That's our
The
county
county,
office.
the county.
Uh-huh.
Good point. Or we're really wrong now. One of those two things must exist because a 12 or 13% shift
It's just not real.
is unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way, it feels like somebody got something wrong at some point.
It's whether in the past and we're course correcting, or whether we've been accurate in the past and we're inaccurate now. That's the big question.
Have we talked to anybody in the county about it?
Yes, Ms. Cambridge and I have been exchanging emails back and forth trying to make sense of that. I don't feel like I have an answer yet that makes me feel real comfortable with a 12 or 13% shift. In speaking with Chuck Woody over at R3 and Lyle Best over at R1, they're in the same position that we are. I don't know if you probably read the paper yesterday. R1 had to raise their tax levy significantly to account for the losses on the AV side.
How many dollars is that for us?
Bottom line will be around $60,000 loss from us. So not anything that's crippling. We'll be fine.
It's still a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money.
Okay.
Let's see. Enrollment, I thought you guys might be interested in that. Generally, you ask. Lynn Elementary School is up about 14 students, but middle school and high school is down 8 in total. We're looking at some of those trends. 9th grade to 10th grade somehow seem to be our biggest drop. For about 3/4 of them, it just ended up being life circumstances moved. So I think they dropped 9 or something like that, and 6 or 7 of them, they just moved to Holt Summit and took a new job or began to work somewhere else. Another point of interest you guys were interested in, right now we have 10 different students that are on tuition status from 6 to 7 families, with another 2 or 3 that either haven't completed or haven't started registration, but have indicated that they were interested in enrolling in R2. So I predicted about 8 to 12. You know, we're solidly at 10, we might end up at 12. And we've generally maybe had 1 in the past or none more often. So our enrollment is definitely changing a little. Do you guys have any questions about anything on the report?
You partially clarified it. We all know that you went through a meticulous process of communicating with law enforcement. You're to be commended for that regarding the incident with the escaped felon or whatever, which probably required you being up probably about 48 hours straight, I would guess, just judging from when those texts were hitting me. But I had a question or two, like the decision-making process regarding, we did not have school, but we did have activities after school. I have had a couple questions, and I know that there's good reason, but maybe you could explain the process on that. thought
Sure.
process.
So I stayed in contact with either Captain Schaefer or Sheriff Bonham pretty much continuously for that 2 days. So at 12:30, 1 o'clock on Wednesday, I just touched bases with, in this case, Sheriff Bonham, went through what the status was with the person of interest at that time, and really went with his guys' advice and guidance. And at that point, the information that he relayed to me indicated that there was a lesser threat at that time in our specific area than there was overnight. And so part of the reason that definitely weighed on my mind with suspending school for that morning specifically was they weren't quite sure of his last known whereabouts, which updated around lunch hour. But I was really concerned with students, 100 to 200 students standing at our bus stops in low light conditions, probably alone. And we weren't sure enough at that time where he might be trending to, that I just wanted to err on the side of safety and not have unattended kids in the morning. We felt like full daylight with where they felt like he was moving to,
Yep.
Put us in a better position.
I totally agree. Figured that was 100% what it was. I think it would be good. You saying it's good though.
We were led to believe by the middle of the afternoon, he'd moved to the east.
Right.
Yeah.
We just wanted to, I had.
Asked about that.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
So the decision to have full sports practices was decided then, after that?
Yeah, after that.
Correct.
Yeah.
But he still wasn't apprehended?
No, he still
It was
wasn't.
not.
Yeah. We were told, and because of state tech, we were told that he had moved on and was continuing to try to get east, not come west.
At the point where we felt like we were making the decision Wednesday morning, he was somewhere around between the beginning of 89 Spur and possibly here. Being informed that he had gone east at that point and was trending that direction, and all, very much so. You asked the subject matter experts, in this case, Sheriff Bonham, what do you believe the threat to safety is to students? And at that point, it had dropped low enough, he felt confident that I was making a good decision.
All right, other questions?
I appreciate your work on that.
I just had one, the kids that are paying for tuition to come to our school, do you know what grade levels they're in?
A lot of elementary, split. I think it's kind of a third. A couple, 2 or 3 elementary. You can help me there. One in middle school, so maybe half at the upper, 8 through 12, and the other half at elementary and middle school. Also felt like a kind of a third, like we have about a third of them that are coming to us out of a, just a convenience factor. They work across the street, for instance, and they live close enough that they really like to make that work for them. The other is programming, school environment, is the second thing that's cited.
All right. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Discussion items, Phil, parking lot.
Hopefully this is a short one, just want to let you know what we're thinking. Our original plan, according to the bond, was to have a smaller satellite lot over by our pre-K entrance and then another kind of at the dead end of Wildcat Drive. You can see we did some clearing on the south side, got a great view over there. One of the thoughts in doing that was taking a look at maybe having an expanded, I haven't called it this, but like a mega lot or a larger lot or more parking that's all kind of focused in that one area. So we're taking a look at the feasibility of expanding our main parking lot in that
Hauling in a
direction.
lot of fill, right?
There's a couple different options. You're either hauling in a lot of fill and raising it up, or you're making a different lot that's at a slightly
Okay.
different elevation. And so we're looking at combinations of those lots, taking a look at how cost effective it is. And we've spoken with our design team and our owner rep, and they are willing to bring back some ideas for us and some feasibility in terms of cost and project scope. Any thoughts? I'd love to bring in enough fill to make it nice and level, but it is a lot of fill.
So if there is anybody out there that has a big project coming up with a lot of fill, we'd love to talk to those
Absolutely.
folks.
Please reach out. We'll be glad to find a spot to put it.
Yeah, I would think regardless, even if you go oil, you're gonna have to haul in a whole bunch there, I would think, it seems like.
If you have any preferences, even if you think of them later, or you think of some concept ideas, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to include them in some of the guidance we have for our contractors.
All right, bond project update.
You want to go ahead and take it away, Matt?
Yeah. All right. So yeah, good segue. I know I was here back in the spring, but again, my name is Matt and I with Harvey Building Solutions. We're acting as your owner's rep. Along with me for the presentation, we're just giving an update on the project. We got Eric Wilson with Bond and Tanner Smith with Bond Architects as well. So we're gonna go through kind of where we're at with the design process. Right now, we're at schematic design, which is just the first major milestone of the design. And that's what we're gonna hear to present for you tonight. So goals for tonight, just update you on the project design, present what our projected costs have come in, with our internal estimates, discuss the remaining schedule for the rest of the design and into bidding and construction. And then any comments that you guys, questions that you would have at the end, and feel free to interject as we go through the presentation. So efforts to date, since onboarding the project, we've had our surveyor out here doing site topographic survey of the whole site. We've also hired a geotechnical engineer, and they've put together the private utility locates, and then they've also done investigations on the site soils. So you might notice a drill rig out here a little while back. They're just testing the subsoils, making sure we have appropriate subgrade to build on. So we should be expecting a report that will then go into the design team and their engineers' hands so they can properly design our future building. Then we will go over the design update for you all tonight, along with our construction grade estimate. So with that, go through some of the design.
Here you have a floor plan, one level building connecting the existing middle school and high school to the existing vocational school. Got two main parts. There's the administrative and entry lobby off to the left here. A couple offices for the principal and administrative staff, as well as entry vestibule. And we've got a central corridor that kind of connects the existing high school to the south end towards the vocational school. A total of 9 classrooms on either side of that double-loaded corridor. There's also 2 small connecting corridors and vestibules that connect our main addition to the 2 existing facilities to the north and the south. This is an enlarged view of the northern half of the new building. You can see the administrative wing on the left, and then the 3 classrooms there, as well as the restrooms. This is the southern half. We've got more classrooms, 6 classrooms here. And then on the right side, you'll see we have 2 science classrooms with a shared science lab in between them. And then to the left of those classrooms is a lot of the storage, utility, and service spaces for those 2 classrooms and labs. These are the exterior elevations, the west end and the north end. Some ideas for exterior building materials, windows and glazing, as well as building signage and monument signage for the campus. Off to the left there, at the top left, you can see some fencing and a gate. The idea is that the space in between our new building and the existing middle school and high school could be fenced off and used as an outdoor classroom. There's the east elevation and the south elevation. Just showing more of the building exterior. From the ground up, you'll have a band of brick up to 10 or 12 feet in some cases, and then at the top we'll have school color white and red metal panels that kind of frame the roof. Here's another image, cleaner image of the building exterior. This would be the west side facing the parking lot, and the new entry into the vestibule, which is the entry itself kind of faces south a little bit. This is a view of the other side of the building, the east side. You can see on the far right is the north wall of our new addition, and then there's a small connecting corridor between our new addition and the existing middle school and high school. That will also act as a vestibule and a potential pass-through. We'll have an access door there as well, so people can come in through this corridor in between buildings to access the corridor and go into either the existing middle school, high school, or our new high school. This is a site plan done by our civil engineer, TWM, that shows 2 proposed additional parking lots and a access road that goes around the south end of the vocational school to connect the eastern access road with the main parking lot to the west. Again, based off of some of the discussions related to the parking lot fill and some of the recent discussions where we might need even more parking than this, this will most likely be reconfigured. We'll do some more analyses with our civil engineer about which ones are more efficient for minimizing the cut and fill. This is a 3D view with the roof and ceilings removed that shows kind of the interior layout of the spaces. Also the furniture is turned on so you can kind of get a sense of scale for each of the classrooms, the administrative spaces. These 4 classrooms here, 5 classrooms, excuse me. You can see they have the desk and furniture, smart boards, teaching boards. This is the fax room in the northeast corner. You'll have shared islands in the middle, and then most of the utilities and workspaces along these walls. Shared restrooms for the students, and then your science classroom and science labs. And then this would be your finished plans for the flooring for the most part. Got LVT, which is a durable kind of plastic flooring finish here that can be made to look like wood grain or any different type of thing. In most of the public areas, corridors, classrooms, and then we'll have carpet in the administrative area, and then some more tile or durable sealed concrete tile in the storage, mechanical, and restrooms.
Thanks. All right, and we'll go into review the costs and budget. Everybody should have received a copy of the actual estimate. So in this book gives you a good snapshot in time where we are at with costs. The initial budget was put together based on just some concepts. Really didn't have much in terms of plans put together. So now that we're at this SD phase, and as you can see, we have a good idea on a floor plan, what our finishes are, what the exterior is gonna look like, what the site work is generally gonna look like. We're gonna manipulate that a little bit and see what works the best. So this phase of the project, we're really just kind of getting a good, true look at what the cost could be on bid day, and that's what our goal is to project as close to bid day cost as we can, with some escalation in there. As you can see on here, we have a little bit of a upcharge for escalation because we're 6 months out. Also in this book is some narratives from the design team on what their intent is with the design, some of their MEP estimates, and then also you have full list of all the drawings. So you have all the drawings in here. So this budget update really just kind of shows where we started with the original budget column and then where we're at with our update here today. So you can see construction cost wise, we're pretty close to that original construction cost. Escalation, we were figuring 3%. Now I think we're comfortable, since we're a little closer to bid day, lowering that to 2%. We're still carrying a contingency, which is owner-driven contingency, it's still at 10%. As we get closer to that bid and on bid day, we'll reduce that contingency going into construction to something we feel a little more comfortable with.
What do you typically look at, something less than half that?
New construction, we're probably between 5 and 7%, something like that.
Let's try not to be over 5.
We can do, 5 is, I think on this project, whether it be any.
Should be straightforward. I'd actually like to see 3%, but.
We can obviously put that, that's just what our recommendations are typically going in. We just want to make sure we have a safety net for you guys to figure out. Special construction, so this would be like if there's any abatement needed. FF&E, furniture, so these are where these budgets are. Professional services, obviously, us, bond, geotechnical, the surveying, and then all of the material testing firm that comes out here. Technology, this would be like any audiovisual, cameras, security systems, access control that would not be a part of a contractor's scope. And then the finance land acquisition, this is your lease purchase projects. So we have a budget there, and then miscellaneous advertisement costs. So we're at 11,090. That's still within our projected budget. I think the original 10.4, that was before the bonds were sold, and we had meetings with your guys' financial advisors. We had good news from the sale of the bonds and some of that bond premium and the projected interest. So I think that's where we're projecting those dollars a little higher, but I think we're still in good shape with the total budget.
How much is that a square foot, are you thinking right now?
I think it's right at 357, I
I think 357 sounded like a recent number.
Actually, on tab 2, it has it, yeah, 357. Square foot.
Seems really expensive, but
And this.
we'll see on bid day.
This has, I'm trying to think if this has the, so site work is not included in that 350, that's just building construction. It does have a the GC markup.
I think we're gonna be in good shape as we near the end of projects. We do have a pretty robust contingency at 10%. At 5%, that, you know, that puts us at a fairly significant cost that we're accounting for, that we're likely to not have to spend that, and we're trying to stay conservative on our investment return, which still should keep us well within our cap, and I hope as we near the end of the project. This is with everything that we had on the bond, so every single thing, including the playgrounds, and also paying off our lease purchase, which was for our current track, the lights and the fencing. So there's a reoccurring cost there of about $65,000 a year in payments, that with this planning, we should eliminate that as a reoccurring cost and be able to use that honestly to focus on salaries and benefits in next year's budget.
You're saying that's in the 8 million? All the other projects? This is just
Yes.
for the building?
No. The 11 million is for everything.
Where is everything else? What number?
You're talking like the track and the.
We're talking air conditioning for the dome.
Oh, air conditioning, we do have a plug number for
It's in
that.
there.
Yeah.
So if you look at the more detailed total program budget on tab 2.
So you're not taking 8 million divided by the square foot of the middle school replacement or the new high school? You're taking, or you're saying that the new building will be 350 or three?
Yeah, the
350 a square
350 that I
foot.
gave you is
Just for that building?
the new building.
Okay.
and whatever renovations.
Got it.
Which are minor.
But the new building is not $8 million.
No.
No.
That's the cost of construction of all of our projects that require construction.
Yeah, 6151 is the estimate for it.
Okay.
Kind of to show you, that's part of that total program budget. This is just we call it a budget tracker, just a list of ideas for, adds, deducts. If we do run into trouble, we like to put in value engineering type items, or, in this case, I don't think we have those issues, but we wanted to separate out what that storm shelter, was looking like from a cost standpoint, just to see it, since we didn't really have an idea of, firm decisions yet. We also have all the site work listed out here, the access road, and gravel parking lots on the southwest and the northwest, which obviously those might fluctuate based on some future discussion. So this kind of just gives you an idea, plugging those individual items in, what those costs could be. And these could, anything on this list could be a construction alternate. When we bid it out, we can decide if we, laundry list of items that could be taken or could be deducted out of the contract.
These are not included in the $11 million vote, correct?
So everything on in this column, that 947 is included. Yeah, so I went ahead and just rolled all that in as accepted, so that previous number does reflect those costs in there. The only thing that's not is
Could I ask a couple of questions? Since I was on the last building, building the elementary and at the top of the building. Number one, what kind of roof are you gonna have on the building? Since we've had all the trouble with through the years. Roofs around here.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We're having a PPO roof membrane.
Which is,
It's a,
for a layman,
It's what we have now that leaks.
it's
and now the leaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
thermoplastic membrane that is heat welded together. It's a low slope, almost flat roof, but low slope shed water.
Okay. And the other thing, as a teacher, for many years, what kind of storage do you have in the room? I know that's always been a complaint of everybody, there's never enough storage.
The science lab and the two science classrooms have a large shared storage room that's 200 square feet.
I'm not a science teacher, but,
The-
well, I mean, in the other classrooms for
The other
English,
classrooms,
history, then.
there's no dedicated storage for the individual classrooms. They will have built-in cabinets and furniture. As part of the furniture package, they will have built-in cabinets.
Okay.
You can see in this drawing here,
Right.
up against some of the shared walls, the walls will be filled with cabinetry for additional storage, but no dedicated rooms, storage rooms. Will be
Okay,
furnished
it's all over within the room. Okay.
Our idea is that increases flexibility of classroom space.
Okay, right.
Relegate furniture.
Thank you.
All right, so, moving forward, our next steps, we're into design development phase, which will take us out to October. We'll reconvene at that point, do the same exercise with the updated estimate, come present that to you guys, in October. Then we'll move into, construction document phase, and that will get us out to our bid phase in January. With anticipating onboarding a GC, in that February timeframe. So construction, we'd anticipate starting spring next year and go through the summer of 26 into the summer next.
What's your schedule here?
That schedule isn't, I can send you kind of our overview schedule of everything like that. Yeah, this is just for the PowerPoint, so.
There's not been any changes to that since you've gotten started?
The schedule? No, we're still targeting that January, out to bid. We have bids due in February.
About the only thing we've changed hasn't changed our real timeline, like the larger timeline. We are trying to avoid the holiday season for bidding, which pushes us a couple of weeks one way or another, but it doesn't really change our break ground date. We just are going to avoid accepting bids over that time, because we think we'll miss the opportunity with so many people out for the holidays to get some bids that would be competitive and put us in an advantage position. But it really doesn't change our overall timeline.
Questions?
Any other questions?
I think my only real question, and it's been a concern since the beginning, what does the existing high school look like? So we're gonna add 3 classrooms and some science labs, but I still don't really, nobody's convinced me that that is or isn't enough, or we're not gonna do a hodgepodge of middle school, high school over here. Is that a clean break, or we do care about that? I mean, has that work been done?
So that won't be done by them necessarily. That'll be done by our secondary team in collaboration with her staff to really figure out what the best flow is for that, to figure out what works best. Like, we're repurposing the fax room, for instance, into our middle school science room. Or no, that's not true. That's going to actually be one of our special education classrooms. So we're repurposing some rooms. Will it be perfect where 6th, 7th, and 8th is only here? We'll have some barriers to make sure that there's not a lot of mixing for that, but we're still gonna have a shared cafeteria, shared band, choir, a few special space. We've talked a little bit about kind of refreshing our current existing high school, including with furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We did a walkthrough today and talked about how we might match fit and finishes between the two so that there's not a huge disparity in environment between the brand new rooms and the older rooms. Does that answer your question?
It answers it, it doesn't make me feel very good. I mean, I'd really like to see this laid out before.
You don't wanna put new rooms in, and I'd like to know where everything is gonna be, I guess. Because if we're adding these rooms, are we offsetting it accordingly to make sure that we have enough space?
Well, our old space is 13,000 square feet. This is 15,000 square feet. So in the planning process, we've accounted for each space and how it's used in our current basement middle school for a space, an equivalent space, either being constructed or already having been existing in what will be our new building or buildings, depending on how you look at it. So we haven't lost anything. There's no drop off in services. We have more space, and we should be able to have our current programming plus some room for additional programming and growth.
But the high school's bigger than moving them into the new space, for all
That's-
intents and purposes. You know, like, there's gonna be, I guess the concern is that there's definitely gonna be, classrooms have to be used in the existing high school building for high school classes. Like, how's that gonna work, where they're gonna be? That, I don't know, I'm kind of repeating lately, but you know what I'm saying? I get that the middle school size is the same as the building we're building, but we aren't putting the middle school in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like that.
Part of the
Yeah.
early conversations were that we didn't want them commingled too much. So the only way to do that with ag and art and CTE classes on one side is to make sure that we slide the majority of our high school classes around. Because otherwise we'll put middle school right in the middle of that, and we would be crossing through high school students constantly. So the vast majority of space probably will be used for high school classes. As far as, you know, we talked a little bit about storefronts and some of our hallways. I call it the H, you know, the front hall and the back hall and the crossover. We'll have some storefronts there that limit just how easy it is to transition between what's dedicated junior high space and what's dedicated high school space. But there isn't any perfectly clean way. We're taking two separate spaces and a lot of specials and adapting them. And this is the least expensive of that.
I'll admit, going into it, I really thought our architect would lay all that out for us. But I'd still like to see, whether it's you or somebody else, what I'd really like to see is, okay, this is what's going into all this space.
I think what he's
and
asking
this.
for is, I know at one of the first meetings, we had a floor plan of the existing high school that we
Mhm.
could see. So if you could lay that up with this, and then your staff or whomever label them what your intent is for those existing classrooms.
I think I can give you a preliminary idea, but I'm gonna be cautionary here. As a high school principal, I just use my rooms for different things every year, and always had a degree of flexibility that I could move them around. I would be a little concerned that however we arrange it this early in the game, would
I don't think
be
anybody
considered.
means that it's set in stone. We just wanna see, because I know there was a discussion that there wasn't enough space when we first, just see it.
Overview or plan.
A plan, what's your plan? Not necessarily that it has to be that way, but just a
Yeah.
plan.
I can absolutely put something like that together.
Yeah, what the plan is.
Oh, so we have been, I apologize if that information hasn't been clearly communicated. We have done that exercise actually 2 or 3 times over. Aaron kind of helped take the lead with us on that to make sure that, okay, we've got X amount of classrooms for the middle school in the basement. They're gonna be moved to here in the existing middle school, high school, and then they're gonna displace high school classrooms, which then get moved into the new addition. So we have done that. We have the information, we have the rooms currently preliminarily assigned as a high school ELA.
Yeah,
or
I
high
think
school
that's
math.
just what
We
we
will
would like to
just-
see, to say, okay, yeah,
We do have that.
there's
I'm-
extra space for us to grow, we wanna see it.
I'm sorry we did not have that clearly communicated before and at this presentation, but we will be sure to send that information to you very, very soon.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions?
I have just a couple more. So in your furniture setup, are we not doing lockers for the high school kids?
There will be lockers. We're still doing an assessment as to how many lockers are being displaced from the middle school, and therefore it will need to be implemented in the new addition. Right now, our guess is somewhere between 100 and 150. The central corridor is much wider than it actually needs to be because we're gonna be putting in potentially double-loaded banks of lockers down that central spine.
I just wanna make sure it's counted for, cause I didn't see it on the
Yes.
floor plans. And then, just briefly looking over your descriptions of what we're doing for the rooms, I assume we're considering safety doors of some sort, since we're in that type of society now where we have to make sure when lockdown occurs, we can do it correctly, right? Like that's a part of the cost estimates for building these rooms.
We build in safety and security on all of our additions and renovations, so interior doors, exterior doors, and the windows all have a level of security that, to help with that lockdown situation and general security overall.
Anybody else?
My question was about I guess the administrative office for the high school here. And I realize I'm looking at a really rough drawing, but like, I do worry, like, the entryway greatly resembles what we have at the elementary school right here that we're trying to get rid of. And so I'm a little concerned about the way that the entry is, because unless we're keeping these two doors that go into this main corridor secure at all times, I would think that we'd want some additional security, like we had discussed with this elementary. So I don't really like that, the way that this is designed, and it also looks like the rooms in the office area, they look pretty small. I could see that being crowded and cluttered really quickly.
Couple of things that are different that I can answer. So that entire space is your secure vestibule, which those doors are intended to be kind of a buzz through or a pass through. We're probably gonna skip the fly through this evening, but there's a pass through window that is the access to the administrative office that you're not going to see there. And a couple of differences that particular office doesn't, in terms of, isn't quite equivalent to the elementary. The elementary has an art room, a choir room, this room, and the gym all accessible directly off of that vestibule. So we can't really secure our current elementary in the way it's set up for that reason, which is why we are planning. But that, in this particular case, that office space shares the same shape, but doesn't necessarily offer the same access that the design that we currently have at the elementary does. It's much more confined. The only way in are those two doors, and those are our secure, electronically locked doors. Which we do currently have on this setup, but we don't have a set that goes to
No, I
our
get it. I just,
music.
if you're keeping these two doors secure,
This'll be secure,
Yeah,
that'll be secure.
I get it.
You can't get in here, there's a
Well,
window there.
but
The
anytime I'm at the.
administrators are gonna get shot, but no, the kids aren't. Which is, I mean, really kind of what you're doing, which is, I think,
No.
okay. I mean, I think that's okay. I mean, not to be,
What
but
I-
that's really, you're trying to protect kids.
What I mean
and
is,
this does
like,
that.
I would have put the secretary closer so that there was a pass-through right here, because anytime I'm at the high school, it's a beehive of activity where they're coming in and going out of the office, and there's no window here like we have at the high school right now, where there's a window that you can open and say, hey, Alice, I need something. And you can't tell me that the kids aren't gonna be coming in and out of that office all the time. And so if they're coming in and going out all the time, then that we may think that that's a secure door, but that's not a secure door.
Yeah.
And so I don't
see what
like
you're
that.
saying. Yeah, I
There
see what
there
you're
is a
saying.
transaction window between the office space and the entry vestibule itself.
But what
I
he's
think
saying
I think
is,
you're talking about this door, you're saying kids are gonna wanna.
kids are gonna be
Yes.
coming in and
It's
out of there all day
I don't like that
long.
design at all.
So you were saying if there was a way to have access from the secure side into the
Yeah.
secretary's office.
Because
without this.
I get all the good intentions, but that's not how the kids are gonna operate that setup.
That's true. I mean, if you're a prospective shooter, if you will, you're gonna make small talk out in the front vestibule there until a kid comes through, opens the door,
And then you're gonna,
bold.
yeah.
I mean, that's what you're saying.
So that, yeah, I believe the idea is, this is completely secure, you know, somebody comes in here, they still can't get anywhere unless they're badged.
Unless
What
a kid
we're
comes
saying,
out
a
that
kid's gonna
door.
come through that door.
Through here, right.
Yeah, just let them in.
Just let it-
You'll just sit there and stall and make small talk, and then you'll go on through. I mean, we're just saying worst case scenario, but I see what you're saying.
Because the kids are coming in and out of the office all the time. And it's not, I mean, there's things they need. That's just the way it's always been. And so I would either slide that door over so that there was a window on both sides of the secure door or something.
Slide the door
Slide
up,
it here and then add a door.
a window there.
Take that closet out and put storage out and put it somewhere
I mean,
else.
that's something we should.
Look at.
Yeah, we can talk through it and make sure we got the
Okay.
proper procedures that how that office operates. If there are kids coming in and out of there all the time for whatever reason, yeah, we probably have to rework that a little bit.
Other questions?
There was
Comments?
a time that there wasn't any kids that were allowed in the office until they were cleared through that window.
Well, that's the way they do it now. But there's no opportunity for them to access a window to even get there.
Kids go in and out of the high school office a lot more than they used to.
I see, if they slid that door up and put a window where that closet is and put the closet over where the window is
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
Just move that.
Yeah, that would do it.
They just need communication, they don't necessarily need to go into the.
Right.
Right.
Other questions? And I'm not a fan of flat roofs, but I recognize that's mostly what we have here, and we complain about them a lot.
Typically be installed.
Close to it.
You sell flat roofs, so you,
We sell all kinds of roofs.
Thank you.
all right.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's crank through the rest of this. ASBR.
I spoke with you a little bit about this. The most important part of that was complete and complete on time was our ending fund balance at 40.2%. We've talked a few times already about that being slightly inflated because of remaining lease purchase funds, but we will still be comfortable around that 34% mark. We will go through an audit process. I think we'll do very well in that. It might be confusing for you to hear me say, well, that'll make it change little to nothing. But depending on how maybe the auditors might come in and say, really, you should code it this way, and that goes to a different fund, and that might change a Fund 1 or Fund 2 total, but they won't swing much, likely not to swing at all. We could use that cap going into a year where we're slightly short on our personal property AV, and saving up some fund balance to prepare for future budgeting shortfalls at the state level and or increases in wages and salary.
Okay, any questions? All right, moving to action items. Approval of bus routes.
Same as always, they haven't changed in years and they're still working for us.
All right, any questions? Can I get a motion to approve the bus route?
I move we approve the existing bus routes.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Propane bid.
We had 4 bids come in this year. Our lowest bid is AA Propane. and they've extended the offer to our staff as usual, which was right at about a cent, maybe it was within a cent of our second place bidder, which was Locks Mill. Plus their service rates were lower than everyone else, and quite honestly, we've had a year of really great service with AA propane so far. We literally don't have a single complaint.
All right. So they were within a couple of cents. They were closer this time.
They were closer, they were within 4 cents for certain, it might be 3, but.
Okay. I'll go on the record and say I'd love for us to go local, but yes, we're obligated to go low bid unless there's some value add there that, and it doesn't sound like there is if the service is equivalent to what we had previously.
So it's $1.36 once you round versus $1.49. So we're still 13
Still quite a
cents
bit.
off.
Yeah, it's still quite a bit. All right, can I get a motion to approve, is it AA or AAA?
AA.
AA propane.
I move we approve AA propane's bid.
Can I get a second?
One second.
Questions, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. The approval of the Missouri Compliance Plan.
We're required to adopt a plan each year as one of the options. Instead of coming up with our own or paying a contractor for one, we can adopt Missouri's official compliance plan. And we have done that in previous years, have been satisfied, and will continue to do that should you vote.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the Missouri Compliance Plan?
I'll make a motion to approve the Missouri compliance plan.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Approval of the levy.
So our current levy is the state's absolute minimum for operating levy at $2.75 with a debt service levy of $1.05. Of course, our immediate bonding plans and long-term bonding plans rely on the $1.05 levy remaining in place. And for us to complete those, we did come slightly in under the 275 calculation at 273, which means that we can by law default to the minimum $2.75 per 100 without a vote. It's the state's minimum in any case. Should our calculated levy ever rise above $2.75, then you do have some options about where you can adopt your levy ceiling if you would choose to. However, we're still below that minimum, so we're locked in without a vote at $2.75 per $100 of evaluation. I do think it's important to know that we're doing really well on what I call kind of the minimum wage of tax rates. And I think that's observable to people, but I do believe in the coming years we're going to have to seriously consider moving from the minimum in order for us to not just survive in terms of salaries and benefits, but actually be very attractive there, or at least competitive. So I do think that that is a conversation that's been long in the coming, but I think we can more than live within our means this year, and unless we do want to go to an election at $2.75 per.
Discussion. So I guess the disappointing there is because we came in at 273, we can only go 275. If we would have come in at 275, we could have gone to 279.
279.89, which is our ceiling, and it's your ceiling that you can adopt without actually the voters passing it at the ballot box. We could choose to have an election and raise our tax rate if the voters decided that would be, regardless of what our calculation rate comes in.
But we'd be better off waiting a year, adopt the 275, and then hopefully in a year we could go to whatever it is, 279, 281, whatever that
About a
number
nickel
is.
or so, yes, sir.
Yeah, which would be about,
Nickel will give us about $60,000 a year.
Make up what we lost.
yeah,
Break even.
yeah, we'd break even. But again, unfortunately, it's in state statute that we can only go to 275.
275 is our limit.
All right. Discussion?
So the 275 is what we have to be at anyways, correct?
Yeah, it's the minimum.
So we're, okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
It's not great. I mean, I'd rather be
Of
talking about going to 279, but that's just not.
There are
in the
8 or
cards.
9 districts in Missouri that have a minimum tax rate, and they are all property-rich districts. So think of South Callaway, for instance. South Callaway and we share the exact same operating levy. However, they have a little over 4 times the assessed valuation. So if we collect $1, they collect $4 and some change. If we collect 10 million, they collect about 42 million. And so you have your Ladou's, you have Camdenton that have
Sure.
extraordinary property values. Those folks that have the minimum are very property rich. So we are unique in that.
So where have we gone wrong in the past? I mean, why are we one of a very small number of schools that aren't property rich that have adopted the minimum?
I have a 21-year gap, and that was my adult years before coming back home. So I would defer to some folks who have been here. I know from a fiscal standpoint, we haven't always behaved ourselves as a district. I think you all know what I'm referring to there. I think it's a trust thing in combination with, we'd rather keep our money, rightfully so. I would also, and we like low taxes.
Mhm.
And so we've done our best to minimize those.
Yeah, the hard part.
We've never, in the almost 50 years I've been here, passed a levy increase. We can build buildings, but we can't pass the
Levy increase.
And we could always look at putting it to voters.
We've
could.
depended on state,
That's the
whatever.
direction.
Yep.
Voters can decide.
Sometimes we've been rich and a lot of times more poor than rich.
What I hope is over these first few years, that the way we operate and lead garners a degree of trust that would incentivize our voters, that when we come to ask to be competitive from a wages and salaries perspective in particular, that they would support that. But I think that's a future conversation. That trust has to be earned, and this is just the end of our second year. Anybody can fake it for 1 or 2 years, so we need to continue producing and doing the very best that we can with what we have, so that they know we'll be great stewards if we come to them.
All right, with that, can I get a motion to approve the 275 exactly?
$2.75, operating $5 debt service.
Do we have to vote on that, or is that something that's automatic?
We have to vote.
Can I get a motion?
I move to set the operating levy for 2025 at $2.75.
And 105.
I want to make sure that we're clear, it's for fiscal year '24.
Oh, okay.
So,
Fiscal year 24, 25?
it's for the calendar year, I guess
It'd be-
calendar.
It'd be
year,
fiscal
so
year 25.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
We will collect in December 31st of this year, so it's this year's.
Oh, okay. I see what
Okay.
you mean.
So it ends this year, it doesn't go through July.
Right.
Okay, I got it. All right. We got it. All right, so
275 and $1.05 for the debt service levy.
perfect. Can I get a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same? All right. Next regular meeting will be September 19th of 2024. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Make motion.
We gotta have the whole thing.
Oh, my bad.
Motion to adjourn to closed session. I move we adjourn.
Mess that up.
I move we adjourn to closed session pursuant to RSMO 610.021 ASD subsections 13 relative to personal identifiable employment information and 3 personnel actions.
Very good, roll call vote. Well, I can't get a second, I need a second, all
I'll
right.
second it.
All right, roll call vote, Brad?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Naomi?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.